My name is Vaikalias, roll number 39, and I will discuss the term binarism in post colonial. Binarism means a pair or two. It is basically a thinking which is based on the opposition, for example, man and woman, black and white. And in binarism, one term is always considered dominant over the other. Then comes the origin. It was first established by French structural linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, and he argued that meaning does not come from direct reference to the real object but from difference and opposition. And there is a short theory of sign in which he talk about signifier and signified, and signifier the thing we refer to, and signified the mental image of that object. The link between both signifier and signified is arbitrary, mean there is no natural connection. Once a thing is established, that becomes fixed in the language. Signs have meaning through their difference from other signs. मीन्स कि साइन जो है उसका जो वो क्योंकि दूसरे साइन से डिफरेंट होता है, तो इस वजह से उसका जो नाम है ना वो फिक्स हो जाता है एक लैंग्वेज के अंदर, और कोई नेचुरल कनेक्शन नहीं होता, आर्बिट्रेरी कनेक्शन होता है बेसिकली इन दोनों के दरमियान. Then binary opposition is the extreme form of difference between the two objects like sun and moon, man and woman, black and white, birth and death. Then there is problem with these binaries. Binary system basically suppresses the ambiguity because once a thing is selected or named, that becomes fixed. So if there is any overlapping region between the two binaries, so it becomes impossible or considered taboo. For example, youth between the child and adult, and the reason is because it creates rigid categories and hierarchies which cannot be changed, and once they become fixed, so they are used in the language as it is. Then there is binarism and imperialism. Basically, it is said that binary thinking supports imperial ideology because it creates hierarchies that justify domination. And imperialism is built on oppositions like colonizer, colonized, white, black, civilized, primitive. And this binary thinking creates rigid categories which cannot be changed. And it's basically sports imperial ideology. That's why in post colonial it was thought to break the binaries. Then there is ideological function of these binaries. Binaries creates a taboo middle space, as we discussed earlier. Youth between the young and adult age. They construct a logical meanings and justify oppressions. For example, as we can see through the examples like colonizer and colonized, white and black, beautiful and ugly. These rigid binaries they create, they support imperial thinking and justify oppressions. Then there is a critic David Spur, which shows that even the positive views of the Orient they basically reinforce binaries. West is considered rational and developed. East is considered primitive and irrational. So the civilizing mission basically hides the economic exploitation. And novels like Heart of Darkness they expose it how dominant conceals and they justify their oppression in the name of civilizing the Africans. Yeah, then the post-colonial theory basically challenges the rigid boundaries and it focuses on ambivalence, hybridity, and complexity. It reveals the contradictions of the imperial logic, and the taboo space or the overlap of the boundaries is where new identities and meanings emerge. Wilson Harris blurs fixed identities and disrupts binary oppositions because they become rigid, and any overlapping region is considered taboo, and that's why. And that's why post-colonial thought to break boundaries. In transcultural perspective, it is shown that colonial encounter is not one way. Identity is formed in the ambivalent spaces of interaction. When there is interaction between colonizer and colonized, they exchange. And there is dynamic of change, and this mutual exchange basically shapes both sides and imperial society itself. So binarism simplifies reality into rigid oppositions which justify domination, and post-colonial theory questions these boundaries, exposes their violence, and opens space for diverse identities. That's all. Thank you.